Trying new things is exciting, right? Unless you're my son, or maybe yours, in which case it's basically something to be avoided at all costs. Have you ever suggested something fun to your child and get a full body nope response? Hey, let's try soccer. Nope. Or what about, let's try a new snack? I'd rather starve, says your child. Does that sound familiar? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Why kids resist new things, how we as parents sometimes accidentally make it worse, and easy no-pressure ways to help your child branch out without meltdowns. I hope that sounds good. If so, I hope you'll give this video a like if you like it and subscribe if you haven't yet. All right, let's jump in. So first, let's talk about why kids say no to new things. It's not just stubbornness. Change can be really scary for our kids. The unknown can feel like a loss of control. They have sensory sensitivities and anxiety that sometimes interfere with their ability to adapt to new things. And sometimes they have past bad experiences that also make them extra wary. Sometimes, as parents, we actually also accidentally make things worse. We can make things worse by adding subtle pressure. So for example, the sales pitch trap. You're gonna love it, right? Our children then are instantly suspicious of us once we are so vigorous with that. We can try the high stakes setup. If you don't try it, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. And that might be a little overdramatic. We may not say things like that, but we communicate that message. And when we do, we're creating pressure, of course. Or sometimes we go with the, come on, just try it. Come on, you can do it, which is essentially begging. And that works about as well as begging ever does. So when we try to do anything that feels like force, our children immediately go to resistance. So instead, what we want to do is very gentle encouragement, or better yet, creating space for our children to exercise their autonomy, right? That gives us way better odds that they will actually try something new. So you might be asking, how do we do that? Glad you asked. The first and most important step isn't what you think it is. You're thinking, tell me how to get my kid to do something. And the first thing we actually need to do is check in with ourselves. We want to ask ourselves, why does this trying new things issue matter to us? Okay, so before we push our kids to try something new, let's take a second to ask that question. Why is this important to me? Is it because somebody said that they should, right? Family or teachers, oh, we really need to help them be more flexible. We need to help them try, new experiences, new foods. Is it because you maybe personally love trying new things and want them to feel the same joy? Is it because you worry that they're missing out on something? These are important questions to ask because maybe once you consider the reason why, you realize, maybe that doesn't apply to them. Maybe it's not so important that they try this new thing. When checking in with ourselves, we also want to recognize our own disappointment. It's okay to feel frustrated or disappointed when our children resist doing something that we think that they're going to like, especially sometimes, we set things up that are so elaborate. I can remember once I drove my children like an hour and a half to an aquarium because my son loved water. He loved anything that swam. But we got there and it was a day that kids were off from school. It was incredibly loud and he lasted in there about 5 minutes. So we wound up having to go back to the car and drive all the way home. So it was basically 3 hours of driving for 5 minutes of aquarium time. And my daughter was disappointed and I was disappointed. But there were reasons why he didn't want to try this new thing, and I probably didn't set him up for success. I hadn't considered the fact that the place would be swarming with children because it was President's Day or something like that. I didn't have to be disappointed in him. I didn't have to push him harder. That was never going to work. So again, it's okay to feel disappointed, of course, but we don't want to push harder. We want to just pause and reframe. We also want to pause and reframe to increase calm and hope. Right? Maybe it's okay that our kids aren't into 20 different hobbies, but they're deeply passionate about one or two. A full life doesn't have to mean doing everything. Sometimes it means doing a few things deeply, right? Sometimes we fear they're missing out, but if they're doing what they love, maybe that's good enough. We just have to check in with our own feelings about that and realize that maybe it isn't a problem at all. Food is another tricky item. As parents, we feel compelled to help our children eat a balanced diet, try new foods, eat healthy, all of the things. But expanding our children's diet doesn't have to mean forcing them to just take one bite, right? That's sometimes our approach. We want to increase exposure, let them play with the food, let them cook with us, but be okay with having them be on their own timeline. Once we start to add that pressure, even, parents say to me all the time, oh, I wasn't pressuring him, but pressure comes in other forms other than like pure, you must do this. So I want you to check in with yourselves and think about, why is it I need my child to try this new thing? All right, now we're going to get into actually what to do with our children. So first, we want to start small and super casual. We want to lower the stakes, right? No big declarations of, we're going to do this now, right? Instead, we want to remove any suggestion that there's a demand involved. We want to make it feel like an option and not an obligation. Next, we want to break it down. If they refuse to try, say, a new playground experience like the slide, let them start small. Let them just watch other children on the slide from a distance, right? Then maybe we can encourage them to touch the slide or move closer to the other children. Then maybe they can sit on the slide, or we can put them on the very bottom of the slide to just slide the last few inches, right? There are ways of helping increase their exposure to something and their willingness to adapt to something without it being an all or nothing. Like either you go down the slide completely or you don't. We want to be more open to, smaller chunks of that. If they're hesitant, say, about meeting new people, maybe you just try waving from a distance, right? Maybe over time they can get closer and just say hi, right? They don't have to have a conversation. And then maybe on their own time, they'll be ready to do that. Another area of trying something new might be something like trying a new activity like finger painting. Well, finger painting comes with a lot of sensory yuck potentially, right? So let them watch other kids finger paint. Let them use a brush if they don't want to touch it. Let them use crayons while other kids are doing finger painting. Just increase their exposure and let them come to a willingness to try things in their own time. Next, we want to make it playful. Right? Sometimes we get so serious about wanting them to try something that we become pressuring that way, right? So you can try curiosity instead of commands. Think of it that way. Oh, I wonder what this tastes like. So you can raise your eyebrow and be playful about it. Or you can say, do you think this smells like flour or like feet? Right? That's a silly question, but it can engage them sometimes, and that might be increase their willingness to open up to something new. We also want to make sure we're trying things in a low pressure setting. Like, want me to try that first? Whether it's a food or an activity. Maybe you go down the slide first, or maybe touch the slide if that's the stage they're at. You can make a game out of something. Maybe we can take one teeny step, or let's take 5 baby steps toward the slide, and then we can run away like we saw a ghost. I know this all sounds so silly, but it's a way of connecting with and engaging our children to ultimately, hopefully, increase their willingness to open their minds, right? Open the flexibility of their thinking to consider, trying something new. We can also try reframing the experience, right? We can, instead of calling it trying something new, we can call it exploring like a scientist, right? Scientists don't have to like everything, but they do need to check things out. And your child might be willing to approaching something like a scientist. It might feel less personal to them than trying something new, okay? And then last, we want to talk about, and I've mentioned this, but already really respecting their timeline, right? New things can take time for our children. Sometimes they look at it 5 times, then maybe next week they touch it or smell it, and a month later, maybe that's when they're willing to try it. It's all progress, and we just need to remember to allow them to experience it on their time frame. Okay, we want to model and not mandate. So the kids are watching us. If we're always ordering the same food, I'm totally guilty of this. I always eat the same things when I go to a particular restaurant. If we avoid new activities, if we panic over change, then they learn that new equals scary. So we have to remember that we're always modeling, and we just want to remember to be okay with the maybe later response. So the key reminders here: first, check in with your own mindset. Find a way to be okay, whether they try something new or not. Otherwise, we're inadvertently putting pressure on them. Start small, stay casual, keep it playful. Remember to go at their pace, not ours. Your calm, easygoing attitude makes all the difference. If your child tries something new, even the tiniest step, celebrate that win. And they don't, no big deal. Keep showing them that new things aren't scary. They're just new. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'd love if you'd share one new thing that your child has resisted. Maybe we can chat in the comments and brainstorm together some ideas to help them try something new. That's all for today. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.